Let's look at this next one. Let's be a little bit more daring. Okay, so if I have 4x squared times the quantity 3a minus 6b minus 2x times the quantity 3a minus 6b. Again, you notice that this is kind of like having two terms, right? This is the first term, this is the second term, okay? And what do you see that's common to the two terms? Well, right away I see the 3a minus 6b, right? This quantity 3a minus 6b is common to both terms or both groups if you want, okay? So then I can pull out 3a minus 6b, factor that out, okay? And then I will be left inside with two terms separated by that minus sign, right? So minus, okay? Since I already pulled out 3a minus 6b, what's left is 4x squared, okay? And here I pulled out 3a minus 6b, so what's left is a 2x, okay? So then we have 3a minus 6b times the quantity 4x squared minus 2x, and this is already in factored form because you heard yourself say quantity times quantity, right? So we've factored. However, if this were on your test, okay, your instructor probably won't give you full credit. And why is that? Well, because you notice that, what? Yes, 3a minus 6b, you can still take out a common factor. You have 3 and 6, right? Common factor for 3 and 6 is, so this group, what do? I can pull out a 3, right? So I can take out a 3, and inside I'll get an a minus. Since I already have a 3 outside, all I need to multiply to 3 is a 2, right? To get 6. So I have 3 times the quantity a minus 2b. So you have to factor it further, okay? Because you see common factors still. Likewise, it's the same story here. I have 4x squared minus 2x. 4 and 2, obviously, they have a common factor, which is 2, right? And x squared and x to the second, x to the 1, you know that the common factor is the lower one, x to the first, right? So 2x. We can take out 2x, and we're left with what? Since we have 2 outside already, what do we multiply to 2 to give us a 4? It's 2, right? We have x, and x squared is what we want, so we need one more. So x times x is x squared. Now again, we have this story that 2x is already pulled out completely. And again, if you recall, what do we put here? What number do we multiply to 2x to give us 2x? That number has to be 1. Okay? So the complete factored form is this. Okay? And if you clean this up, you'll have 3 times 2 is 6x times the quantity a minus 2b times the quantity 2x minus 1. So just to show you that it gets more and more fun, of course we can just keep adding more complications to these, but I hope you got the idea of how to factor out the GCF. I thought I was done, but I remembered one more complication to the GCF factoring, namely if I have this, let's read it. So it's x times the quantity y minus 5 plus 3 times the quantity 5 minus y. So notice that unlike my previous examples, I don't actually have something here that's the same, right? Nothing really common to these two groups, okay? Because this is y minus 5 and this is 5 minus y, okay? So, but actually for subtraction, for the difference of two terms, we can make this the same, okay? By some change in signs, okay? We notice the relationship here, y is positive, y is negative. Here 5 is negative, 5 is positive. It's kind of like, well, it's not kind of, but it's these two are really what you call opposites of each other, okay? So y minus 5 is the opposite of 5 minus y, or you might want to think of 5 minus y being the opposite of y minus 5. Now, how do you translate opposite of? Alright, so maybe if we want to keep this, we say this is x times the quantity y minus 5. Now let's change 5 minus y and make it the opposite of y minus 5. Opposite of y minus 5, when you translate that English, opposite, I hope you know, is denoted by the negative sign, right? So this thing here is really opposite, so that's opposite of y minus 5. Okay, so that's what you do. You change 5 minus y to make it the opposite of y minus 5. And if you notice, that's correct, right? When you distribute that minus sign, you get actually a minus y plus 5, which is the same as 5 minus y. So that is what we will do, is we will now change this. So the plus minus really becomes a minus, right? And then you have a 3. And let's make this green, just to keep that opposite thing. So 5 minus y is the opposite of y minus 5. And now you see that now you see that thing that we had earlier, which is this quantity is exactly the same for both groups, both terms, right? So we can pull out y minus 5. They're exactly the same. And then you get x minus 3. And there are no more complications here. I kept it simple. Okay, this is already factored, and that's a complete factored form because there's nothing else you can do with this. Okay? Okay, this is really the last example for GCF factoring. So let's look at this. I have 6a times the quantity x minus 12 minus 18a squared times the quantity 12 minus x. So again, you see that problem where here this is an x minus 12 and this is a 12 minus x. So they're not quite the same, right? But we can make them the same, noting that either you change this or you change that, right? Usually students like to change the second one, okay? So if you have 12 minus x, you note that 12 minus x is the opposite of x minus 12, okay? So how do you translate that? X minus 12 minus x is the opposite, so opposite is minus of x minus 12, okay? So 12 minus x, the opposite of x minus 12, or it's negative the quantity x minus 12. So now we can rewrite the problem and make this 6a times the quantity x minus 12 minus minus, that changes that to a plus, right? So the minus there becomes a plus. 18a squared times the quantity x minus 12. And now they're exactly the same. X minus 12, exactly the same. So we can pull out x minus 12, right? And for the first term, we have 6a plus, the second term is 18a squared. And I hope you caught it, that now what? I have more things to do, okay? Although I have factored this, I'm not quite done, because for the second factor, I see that I have another GCF. I actually have two for 6 and 18. Now, after we pulled out x minus 12, we notice that we're not quite done, although it's already factored, right? This is already in factored form, quantity times quantity. But again, we notice that there's more stuff we can do here, okay? So notice that we can take out 6, right? There's a GCF 6. 6 and 18 have a common factor of 6. A to the first and a to the second, there's a common factor of a. So you can pull out 6a and get, well, if 6a is already out, then you just need the number 1 out inside, right? 6a times 1 is 6a, plus 6 times what will give you 18? That's 3. A times what will give you a squared? That's a. So you need 6a times 1 plus 3a, together with this other factor x minus 12. So if you want, you can write your factored form as 6a times the quantity x minus 12 times the quantity 1 plus 3a. And there you go. I hope we now are all experts at factoring out the GCF.